Hello, noble people. My name is the Noble, and welcome to a very special video today. I'm going to be ranking every single mainline FNAF game, so that pretty much excludes all of the Freddy in Space and knockoffs that Scott has made from time to time. And this also will include DLC for respectable games. That does also include Custom Night DLC and the Halloween DLC for FNAF 4. I want to include everything over the entire franchise. However, there is some ground rules that I want to go over. We're going to be ranking games on lore, gameplay, and overall actual replayability, because I feel like the main thing that I like about FNAF games is overall replayability and the length of the FNAF game actually to for challenges as well. So that is kind of where we're going to be ranking it. I also do want to say if you don't like where I rank stuff or you think something should be higher and something should be lower, talk in the comments, please. This is just my opinion on some of the games. I tend to have some different views on some of the games. I think some of the games are actually atrocious, and I will actually nail into the games that I do dislike. But the games that I like are very much for personal preference and to what I remember first playing them within first experiences. So without further ado, let's get into our only F tier game. FNAF AR is our only F tier game, and it is one of the three that have a very special case in terms of the game. The other two are Into the Pit and FNAF World. FNAF World is a special case because it exists in a vacuum. It got decanonized. Nothing about it is true, but is still technically considered a mainline FNAF game. And Into the Pit is its own experience, but since it's based on the books and is a full big project game, I also included it in this. But FNAF AR is only included because it has a lore to Security Breach linked to it, and that is horrible. A lot of people have talked about pretty much how much of a disaster this game is, and like I said, the only reason it's on this list is because it has lore. And I'm not gonna rank it higher than any of the mainline games. None of the mainline games deserve to be ranked alongside this. So just know that this is way bottom of the barrel. The gameplay isn't good. It's insanely microtransaction heavy. Illumix kind of ruined the game, and I think you can't even play the game now anymore. I think the servers went offline, so it just completely failed. And I'm gonna be honest, if Scott came out and said that none of the stuff in AR is canon, I don't think people would be that mad because it was very obvious that it was a marketing type scheme. I mean, they got Markiplier to do one of their trailers and stuff. It's just not good. But then again, this is probably the worst the FNAF has to offer. So without further ado, let's go into our first D tier game. Our first D tier game is FNAF 4. Now, FNAF 4 to me kind of is plagued with stuff that I don't know necessarily is good. First off, I don't actually like the gameplay loop of the game. It being focused on audio could be good if that audio was actually put to a good audio cue, but making it all around the breathing forces the your volume needing to be high, meaning that if you get jump scared, your eardrums are gonna be flash banged pretty much. It's not a fun experience to me at least. And the Halloween DLC for this actually isn't that good either way. Now there are some challenge modes. The Night 5 being only for Nightmare Fredbear, uh, and Nightmare being an animatronic is cool as well. But it doesn't have enough to want me to come back. The lore in here is actually good, meaning that because it's I mean, but obviously it's a key component. Like you can't have FNAF without FNAF 4, but I don't think the lore is good enough to raise up its base gameplay and replayability. I never see myself coming back to playing this game. Once you beat it once, you really don't need to play it again. A lot of people will say it is the scariest game, and if you don't know what you're doing, it can be the scariest game, but a part of me just feels like it's all shock factor, and I hate shock factor in any type of media, not just video games, but like overall media in general. If something is there just for shock factor, I don't like it that much, and this game kind of is themed around it. I do understand why. This game was kind of made in response to FNAF 3 because FNAF 3's jump scares weren't the best. But as it goes now, it is our first D tier game. Next up is FNAF 3. Now, a lot of people already know how FNAF 3 and why it's bad. It's just the atmosphere is not the best. It just is, everything is pea colored green. It just doesn't look visually appealing. And obviously jump scares are lackluster. And now the thing that I'm actually, a lot of people would raise points up on, but which I'm going to take away, is the lore. I find that the normal default cutscenes with Purple Guy are good. I love those. With William Afton, those are good. Everything else to get the true ending is where the lore started to get very, very, very convoluted. To get the good ending, you have to do so many like random things, like type a code into cinder blocks, and then when you get into that mini game, you have to do more secret stuff in that mini game to unlock an extra secret cut. It's too much, and it's kind of where the lore started to fall apart into it being very convoluted for me. It, like in FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, they was mysterious, but it didn't start going convoluted until FNAF 3 and FNAF 4. So that is kind of why I discredit it. The one good thing, which is why it's actually above FNAF 4, is I find the base gameplay to be better. I like the idea that we're actually using the cameras this time. However, I wish some phantoms weren't RNG based, like Puppet, Foxy, Chica. Like Phantom Freddy, Blue Boy, and Mangle, you have ways of counteracting them, I believe. I don't know if you actually can counteract Mangle, but there's ways to counteract them with like Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy. Chica and Puppet. You're forced to just avoid their cameras, so those cameras are useless, and Foxy just appears randomly, and it's just not fun in that scenario. But the base gameplay of trying to get Springtrap away from you the entire night is fun. Sister Location is our next game, and our first C tier game. Sister Location is, in my opinion, good in lore, excellent lore. I think it's the best lore we've gotten for a little while, actually bringing us William Afton's name, giving us more clues around the books might be canon in some instances, and I like that. However, after your first playthrough of Sister Location, you can't play through it again pretty much because a lot of stuff, and I do mean a lot of stuff, is scripted. And from the night one, you physically can't die, and it's not like a lore reason. Like in FNAF 3, you can't die for lore because Springtrap is in the building. In FNAF 1, or Night 1 of Sister Location, you can, like, all the animatronics could get you, but they just don't. It doesn't make sense. The mini games themselves aren't that challenging either, with a lot of them being picked apart and insanely easy. The only one that I can say would be decently challenging is the mini arena one at night 4, but that again could be done with a little bit of skill, so it's not the best. Now, the reason I actually have this higher is because Sister Location, in my opinion, gets carried by its custom night and fake ending. The fake ending with Ender is actually decently good. I think it's actually challenging. I remember playing it for over an hour, trying to beat it, and finally beating it and getting very happy. And then having the ending cutscene where Ender somehow gets into your house. That's cool. Then, obviously, we got the custom night. The custom night being actually fully inside the Ennard cutscene, or the Ennard fake ending room, is really fun. And there's a lot of decent challenge. Golden Freddy mode is really hard. It's just a bunch of fun, and the cutscenes leading up to finding out that Michael is still alive and the scooping didn't kill him. That stuff is cool. And that's what carries a Sister Location into being C tier. If it wasn't for custom night, it would most likely still be D tier. Ultimate Custom Night is next up, and Ultimate Custom Night is kind of just its own thing, which is kind of the reason why it's not ranked higher. It isn't a big enough game to warrant me putting it in like B tier or A tier or something like that, but it is fun. The lore in there is fun. The gameplay is actually fun, being chaotic and but feeling fair at the same time for most part. Is a lot of RNG with this stuff, so obviously that can be bad, but like 50-20 mode is hard. I remember playing 50-20 mode forever until I was able to beat it, and I absolutely love this game. But that being said, there isn't that much replayability. There are some challenges that self-made challenges people have made. I know there's one called Jump Scare Percent where you try and get every jump scare in the game the quickest possible time, and that is a cool way to play the game. But I mean, once you play 50-20 mode, there's really no point to come back to the game, and the lore is more or less kind of self-contained to William being in purgatory type thing, and nothing else is really shown other than that. And most of those are just death voice lines that you could get like a couple times, and then you would be fine. So that is why it is in C tier. Now let's go to our B tier games. The one that started it all, FNAF 1, is just excellent. Now, it isn't A tier because I still feel like it is a little dated, and obviously the lore isn't fully complete yet. And I'm not going to mark it off points because of that, but it is still dated. The gameplay can feel janky at sometimes because it is the first game. But that being said, even with all of that, I still think it's a very solid game. I think that the gameplay it feels decently fluid. The atmosphere is really good. The thud of the doors are so iconic. It's all around good, but obviously it isn't going to age the best as it's a 10-year-old game at this point, which seems crazy. But at the end of the day, it's an amazing game and sparked this amazing franchise. Now let's go to our next B tier game. Our next B tier game is Security Breach. Now, it may be a little weird to put FNAF 1 and Security Breach together, as people really hate Security Breach. I love it. It is a convoluted mess, and we kind of did learn more about that in the second interview with Scott about why was that. It was mainly COVID and also the fact that Scott was trying to tell Steelwool the story like they were a part of the community and like they needed to piece the stuff together, and Steelwool pieced it apart incorrectly. But I have so many fond memories of this. I remember freaking out because I binged and played the entire game when it first came out. As a matter of fact, I was playing it pretty much in sync with Dorko's uploads to the point when I was trying to get the burn trap ending. I watched his video to learn actually how to do it using the racetrack glitch where you could get saves to actually be able to get the ending fight with Burn Trap. I remember screaming that William was alive, and my mom yelled at me because she was trying to take a nap and she could hear me screaming from the living room. I love that. It was such a nice experience of a game, and while it did have its fair share of bugs and is overall more convoluted, this entire franchise is convoluted, so I didn't seem too mad. I love Freddy in this game, and I think it was amazing. Obviously, Ruin did improve the rating of this a lot. This probably would have been a C tier or maybe just below FNAF 1, but I feel like the Ruin DLC does a good job bringing in the Mimic and everything, and I'm excited to see what Steelwool will do with the franchise moving forward. FNAF 2 barely scrapes by, being slightly above Security Breach and FNAF 1. I just like the chaoticness of the second installment just better. I don't know why. It feels more chaotic and more fluid to me. But at the end of the day, it is still slightly dated as it is like pretty much almost a 10-year game. FNAF 1 and 2 kind of released really close together. Same with 3. So they all released very, very close together. So they are a little bit on the dated side. But I still love these games. And I feel like it's started off the lore really nice with the death mini games. And overall, I have always fond memories of playing the second one. I didn't play the second and first games when it came out. I actually went back and played these games around when Sister Location released. But out of that marathon where I binged the first two Sister Location games, this was by far my favorite of the time and has still been my favorite of those main 5 games. Now you may be wondering, hey, didn't you just say that the second game was your favorite out of the main 5? Well, yeah, I hadn't played FNAF World during my main 5. My friends had told me it's not really canon anymore, so I skipped over it because I was like, okay, I don't really need to play it. But going back and actually playing the game, I was so happy. It was so I know a lot of people hate FNAF World, but it's so fun and whimsical and stupid, and I love it. There's actually a lot of different challenge runs you can do it with, doing Nuzlocke, doing like insane 999 difficulty type stuff, beating the game with only one animatronic. It's so fun, and I genuinely really love the game. I know it's considered bad because it's not canon and it's not a horror game, but then again, Security Breach is considered family friendly horror, and I love Security Breach, so I don't know if it's just me, but yes, FNAF World will definitely go down as one of my favorite games. It is the top of B tier. Next up is VR1, Help Wanted 1. I love this game. I didn't play it when it came out because I didn't have a VR, so I had to watch through stuff at the first. And while I did like it and did like Glitch Trap, I could tell that it was more or less just the same experiences through the other games we've played, just remade in VR. And I could tell how that would be scary and cool. The main thing I like is the DLC with adding new stuff into the game. That is cool. But actually getting my PSVR 2 for Help Wanted 2 drastically made me love this game way more than I thought it would. It's actually terrifying being able to see the animatronics right near to you. Watching a video doesn't do it justice. It's probably one of the scariest VR games or scariest games in the franchise ever, and I love it. Some parts are definitely challenging. While I don't like the mini games that are pretty much just copy and paste from like FNAF 1, 2, 3 type thing and some stuff for FNAF 4, I like the more creative mini games, and overall it's a huge experience and I love it. But it can't be like the best. I wanted to put an S tier, but I couldn't in right mind do that, mainly because it's not accessible to everybody. Not everyone can play VR, so that's why I kind of knocked it down from being S tier. That is also the reason why the second one isn't S tier. However, I find it slightly above Help Wanted 1, mainly because it has more unique minigames, and even the minigames that actually aren't unique, like the blurring minigame, are terrifying. I still remember hyperventilating when it came to that minigame, because in Sister Location, that minigame can be beaten pretty easily, but having you to do it in VR where you can see Ballora is terrifying, and I hate it, but it's so immersive and is a perfect encapsulation of what I like in my FNAF games, and I love it for that. But I still didn't want to rank it too high, as because it is still kind of it does kind of redo some stuff, and overall I actually think it's slightly less scarier than the first one. Some things are better, but like the eating mini games that you're actually watching right now aren't the scariest. Like just Chica is just running around near you. That's not that scary. Some of them are a little bit scarier, but like all the stuff with the staff bots isn't the best. I love the helpy minigame though, and that's pretty much, it's just more whimsical, I find. So that's why I like it little bit better than the first one. Now let's move to our 2 final games. Into the Pit in as amazing breath of new air. It's phenomenal. Excellent pixel art, excellent sound design, excellent scares, excellent story. It's amazing. I was a little apprehensive, I'm not gonna lie, once I heard this game was going to be made, mainly because I'm like, how are you going to do this type of game? Like, how are you going to adapt the book into a playable type of style? I can imagine adapting the game into a movie because you can still have kind of the same plot, and that's why the movie is so well liked. But the idea that the book turns into a game, I didn't know how that would play out, but it plays out perfectly. And I love it, and this is a lot of people's favorite FNAF game now. I know a lot of people who like FNAF, but know a lot of the games aren't the best. have said this is an amazing game. There's so many secrets to find, there's so many like Easter eggs. It's just beautiful, but there is one game that I don't know if it can top. And I don't know if any FNAF game, new or old, will ever be able to top my favorite FNAF game of all time. FNAF 6 is my favorite FNAF game of all time. I don't know what about Pizza Simulator that I love. It's just, it has so many elements. It has the salvage section. It has the day sections when you have to defend against the robots you salvage. It has the night sections where you're building your pizzeria. There's so many Easter eggs, there's so many like little tiny things, and I love it. I know the jump scares aren't the best when it comes to the actual office type sections of the game, but I just love this game. There's so many nostalgic moments I have with this game. This game had the perfect finale with connection terminated. There's multiple endings. It's just a beautifully made game, and it just, I don't know if anything can top it. If there is a game with more spectacle, that I think that might top it. That's kind of what the thing that I feel like Ruin was missing. I feel like Ruin needed to have a more big spectacle when it came to the Mimic, because a lot of people are still kind of confused who the Mimic is if they don't read the books in type stuff. And I haven't read the books, but I knew about the Mimic and stuff because I read like a synopsis and summaries. But I absolutely love this game. But like, if we get like the Secret of the Mimic, and one of the things that I want to see from Secret of the Mimic is I want to see the actual turn of William. That is one of the biggest things that I have to see, because William is such an interesting character, but we don't know anything about him except he's a child murderer. And someone just doesn't do that randomly. There has to be something had to happen to cause him to want to do this. And I want to see the breakdown happen on screen. I want him to I want to see the tragedy unfold like in an actual big animated style, like how Steel Wool has been doing, and actually see his turn from a like family man into the killer that we love in this franchise. And I want to see that, but we haven't gotten anything. So instead, the biggest spectacle is Connection Terminated, going over all of the tragedy that has happened in this series and trying to end it all one place. Obviously, it didn't work, which is kind of a lot of people feel like that FNAF should have ended at 6, but I feel like there was a new way to go. FNAF 6 is the ending of the base game. The base games are all ended. Everything after this is all new territory and is leading more sci-fi. And I love that FNAF 6 is the finale of everything, and it will still be my favorite game for probably a while to come. Now that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I just love this game. I don't know. I really don't know why. I just love it. I love this franchise. Thank you so much for watching. I tend to do more videos kind of like this that are kind of just random that I kind of want to make. So stay noble. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.